They vanished in plain sight. 3 terrifying cases of people who disappeared while being watched. This is Mr. H. You're listening to Masked Horror. She never left aisle 6. I was 17 when my cousin Ellie disappeared. It happened on a Thursday afternoon, one of those normal, boring days that never felt like they could be the last normal moment you'll ever have. I still remember the way the sun hit the hood of my aunt's minivan as we pulled into the parking lot of Carter's Market. Ellie had just turned 15, bright, funny, and obsessed with Sour Patch Kids. We were supposed to run in, grab snacks, and head back to my aunt's place to watch movies. Nothing unusual, nothing strange, but she never came out. My aunt stayed in the car while we went in. I told Ellie to meet me by the frozen pizza aisle in 5 minutes. She wanted candy. I was craving Red Baron. Yeah, I know, Red Baron. I wish I had gone with her. I wish I had done a million things differently. After I got the pizza, I waited, then waited longer. I started walking the aisles, calling her name, softly at first, then louder. No answer. I checked the candy aisle. Empty. I walked the store twice, asked an employee. They hadn't seen her. I went out to the car. Where's Ellie? My aunt asked casually, still scrolling on her phone. She's not inside, I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. That's when things started spiraling. We went back in. The manager was called. Security was alerted. Within an hour, police had arrived. They locked the doors. Customers weren't allowed to leave. They pulled the security footage. This part still haunts me, even years later. Ellie did walk into the store. The footage shows her entering at 3:42 p.m. She walks past the carts, heads down aisle 6, the candy aisle. Then, nothing. I mean it, nothing. She never walks out of that aisle, not into another one, not toward the register, not to the bathroom, nowhere. It was like the tape just forgot her. The cops thought maybe she slipped through an emergency exit in the back, but those doors were alarmed and silent the whole time. One of the officers rewound the footage again and again. He looked confused. On the 6th time watching through, he noticed something. As Ellie turned into the aisle, there was this flicker, a glitch maybe, the kind you get on an old VHS tape, but it wasn't just static. It was a shape, a tall, dark blur, just barely visible between frames, at the very end of the aisle near the shelves. Then, it was gone. They froze the frame and zoomed in. The figure had no real face, just a smudge where the eyes and mouth should be. No employee or shopper matched the height and build. I know what you're thinking. Maybe it was a camera glitch, a compression error. But here's where it gets worse. 2 years earlier, another teen girl, 14 years old, went missing under similar circumstances. Same time of day, same numbered aisle in another store, same camera glitch. Her father looked away for a few seconds. When he turned back, she was gone. Exact same type of situation, same aisle, aisle 6. But it was written off as a runaway, even though her purse and phone were still in the cart. For Ellie, flyers went up, interviews ran. My aunt was destroyed. She wouldn't eat, barely slept. I stayed with her for weeks. The store shut down the candy aisle for renovations right after. Never reopened it. People started calling it cursed. but no one could ever figure out what happened. A year later, I got curious, stupidly curious. I snuck back into the store one night after hours. I knew someone who worked there and convinced them to leave the back door cracked. I brought a flashlight and my phone. I wanted to know the truth. I slipped past the frozen section and walked down slowly, filming everything. And then I saw it. At the end of the aisle, behind a loose panel in the shelf, was an opening, a hole, like part of the wall had been cut out. I shined my flashlight in. There was a small room behind the wall, cramped, dusty, covered in candy wrappers and torn bits of clothing. My heart was in my throat. Then I heard breathing. Not mine. I swear on everything, I heard shallow, wet breathing coming from deeper inside the wall. I ran. I dropped the flashlight. I never told my aunt. The store closed permanently a few months after. Building sold. A new discount chain opened up in its place. But every now and then, I check the missing persons database, just out of habit, or maybe hope. And every time I do, I feel this tight, sinking feeling in my stomach, because Ellie's face is still there. Same smile, same soft brown eyes, still listed as missing. And no matter how many years pass, no one has any idea what really happened to her. Only the last place she was ever seen. Aisle 6. The man in the elevator who never got out. I worked the night shift as a custodian for a mid-rise office building in Chicago. 12 floors, mostly empty after 6 p.m. I liked the quiet, no people, no distractions, just me, my earbuds, and a checklist. That night, I was mopping the lobby floor when I saw the elevator come down. It was just after 9 p.m. The building was locked, no visitors allowed. I looked up as the doors opened. A man stepped out, tall, mid-30s, black coat, messenger bag over his shoulder. I recognized him. He worked on the 10th floor, some kind of tech consultant. Kept to himself. Friendly enough. Let's say his name was Brandon. He nodded at me. I nodded back. Nothing felt off. Until the next morning. At 10:12 a.m., I got a call from building management asking if I saw Brandon leave for the night because Brandon's car was still in the garage. He hadn't shown up for work. His apartment complex hadn't seen him either. The office had motion sensors, keycard access, and 6 cameras, 1 in the elevator. So they pulled up the footage. This is where everything got screwed up. At 9:03 p.m., the video shows Brandon walking into the elevator on the 10th floor. He presses the button for the lobby. Then he waits. 30 seconds pass. Then a minute. He looks uncomfortable, shifts his weight, keeps glancing over his shoulder like he hears something behind him. But here's the thing. The doors never open. The timestamp keeps rolling. The elevator reaches the ground floor, but the doors just stay closed. And Brandon, he never comes out. The elevator goes back up empty. I remember the chill I felt watching the footage with the manager. He kept replaying it, thinking it had to be a glitch, a camera error. But we checked the live building system logs. Everything recorded properly. The elevator stopped at the ground floor. Doors opened at 9:04 p.m. No one exited. I told them I saw Brandon. I know I did. But then they showed me the lobby cam. At 9:04 p.m., the camera points straight at the elevator doors. They open. No one steps out. I watched it at least 20 times. The elevator opened, but it was empty. Brandon was never seen again. That's not even the worst part. 3 days later, the front desk receptionist, Jules, called me over. She was pale, shaking, said I had to see something. Someone had used the intercom system to send a file to the building server overnight. It was a video clip. No sender, no metadata. The video was 23 seconds long. It showed the elevator again, but from a weird angle, like a personal camera had been placed in the ceiling corner. Definitely not the building security feed. The footage was in black and white. Brandon stood inside the elevator, breathing heavily. The doors were closed. He looked terrified, eyes wide, mouth twitching. He started pressing buttons frantically, one after another. Then, something moved behind him. From the corner of the frame, a shape unfolded from the shadows, something long and thin, barely human. It didn't walk, it just slithered upright, like a shadow detaching itself from the wall. It leaned over Brandon's shoulder. And just as he turned to look, the screen cut to static. That was the last thing anyone ever saw. Police were called again. They searched the elevator shaft. No signs of tampering, no hidden cameras. They questioned everyone, including me, twice. I told them what I saw. I told them Brandon got out of the elevator, but the footage says otherwise. The cops eventually ruled it a quote-unquote mental breakdown, or since he was in tech, he possibly planned it himself. He was having some issues at home, and they said he maybe planned it to get away from his stressful situation. His family didn't buy it, neither did I. A week after that, something else happened. I stayed late to clean a flooded utility closet in the basement. The elevator was acting slow, so I took the stairs. On my way back up, I heard something odd. A faint buzz, then a ding. The elevator opened. Empty. But the lights inside were flickering, and a damp handprint was smeared across the back wall, 12 feet high. Like something had pressed its hand up there. Something tall. I didn't take the elevator again after that, not once. A month later, a temp worker quit on her first day. She said she took the elevator to the 7th floor and saw a man standing inside, soaking wet, with his face turned to the corner. He never looked at her, never moved, just breathed, loud, raspy, unnatural. She said he looked familiar. When they showed her a photo of Brandon, she passed out cold. The building changed elevator companies after that. New cameras, new cables, new system. But if you ever find yourself in the business district of downtown Chicago and you're standing in a silent lobby late at night and the elevator opens empty, take the stairs. He was live streaming in the backyard. I used to babysit for a woman named Karina in a quiet suburb outside of St. Louis. Her son Daniel was 9, smart kid, full of questions, always running around with his tablet, making videos like he was some sort of YouTube star. One Saturday afternoon, I was watching him while Karina ran errands. It was bright out, around 4 p.m. Daniel had been bouncing off the walls, so I told him he could play in the backyard if he stayed where I could see him through the kitchen window. He said okay, and sprinted outside with his tablet, talking into it like he was live streaming for some fake explorer mission. I didn't think much of it. He did that kind of thing all the time. About 20 minutes later, I glanced outside to check on him, and he was gone. I stepped outside and called his name. No answer. I walked the yard twice. No open gate, no footprints, no signs of him anywhere. At first, I thought he was hiding, playing some kind of game, but 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. Panic set in. I called Karina. She raced home. We called the police. Neighbors joined the search. Helicopters circled the area, but Daniel was gone. Just vanished. No one had seen him leave the yard. No one had seen a vehicle, a stranger, anything. But the tablet, that was still there, face down in the grass. Police collected it. It had been live streaming the entire time. The stream had already ended by the time they picked it up, though. The authorities were able to get a copy and let Karina watch it first. She couldn't finish it. Later that night, one of the officers, someone I knew through my brother, told me what they saw. The video started with Daniel walking through the backyard, narrating into the camera. He talks about finding treasure under the big tree. Then he stops suddenly. He looks directly off camera and says, "Who are you?" There's a long pause. Daniel tilts his head as if listening to something. Then he says, "No, I don't want to." Another pause. Then quieter. "Mom said not to go past the tree." He starts backing up. Suddenly, the tablet drops to the ground. You can still hear audio for a few more seconds. Daniel gasping, grass rustling, and something else. A voice, not a child's voice. It was faint, garbled, but when slowed down and enhanced, it sounded like it said, "You already did." Then silence. Nothing but the sound of wind. The backyard camera had no motion alerts. The neighbor's ring cam picked up nothing. Cadaver dogs found no scent trail. It was like he disappeared into the air. A few months passed. Karina moved away. I still think about her sometimes. What it must feel like to live in that house afterwards. To wake up every day and look out at the same patch of grass where your kid just vanished. And part of me still carries the guilt. My therapist tells me it wasn't my fault, that I couldn't have known, that I did everything right. But the truth is, it doesn't matter, because he was in my care, and he never came back. Some days, I can almost forget for a moment, until I hear a child's laugh, or see a backyard with a tree, or catch a glimpse of a tablet left on the grass. Then it all rushes back. I don't babysit anymore, and I never watch live streams. Because what haunts me the most isn't what was on the screen. It's what the screen didn't show. What stood just out of frame. What might still be out there. Watching, waiting for the next child. A child that I cannot help.